Hi, I'm Nicole with MorningChores.com, and today I'm going to talk you through how to install a Back to Eden garden. With the way things look around me, you're probably wondering, why are we talking about gardening when the weather looks like this? And that is a really good question. But I think wintertime is the perfect time to prep, plan, and prepare your garden for the upcoming year. Today we're going to take a walk on the farm and enjoy the first real snowfall, and I'm going to share with you how to install a Back to Eden garden. So what is the Back to Eden garden method? The Back to Eden gardening method was pioneered by a gentleman named Paul Gauchke out of the state of Washington. He had been gardening for years and years and years with not very good outcome. And one day he realized that when you look at nature and you look at all the soil in nature, it's usually always covered by something. Whether it be water, rocks, trees, leaves, or grass, it's always covered. And any time that you expose the soil to the elements, it becomes eroded and depleted of its nutrients. So he decided to mimic nature in his own garden by always keeping the soil covered. What's great about this method is that it's a no-till gardening method that encourages organic fruits and vegetables to grow in your garden with no pesticides, fertilizers, very little watering. It's extremely economical, and the longer you do it, the easier it gets. That's a win-win for me all around. I've been doing this method in my own garden for the past 3 years, and I've been blown away with the results. I will link the Back to Eden documentary in the description box below. You can head over to the link and watch it for free. Now that we've discussed what Back to Eden gardening is, we can now teach you how to incorporate Back to Eden gardening in your own gardening methods at home. There's a couple things that you want to consider before putting in a garden. The first thing you want to consider is drainage. You want to put your garden in a place that's not going to flood out or get too much water. So taking the time to evaluate your property or the space that you want to put a garden in, maybe checking it after a hard rain just to see where the water goes. Another thing you want to consider is the sun. You want your garden to be in full sunlight. So it's really best that your garden is not near any buildings or tall trees or anything like that. So just taking the time to observe your property, observe your yard to see really where is the best place to put your garden. Another aspect you may want to think about is proximity to the house and also your driveway. If you like to cook a lot and you want to cook from your garden, you don't want to put your garden on the opposite side of your property, or you're going to have to take a pretty good walk to get there. So you want your garden to be kind of close to the house, not too close, but close enough so that you can just walk out there, pick some herbs or pick some produce, bring them in and cook them up for supper. Now, as far as the driveway goes, if you are able to, try to put your garden close to your driveway. And the reason I say this is because you're going to be hauling in dirt and wood chips and things like that. And if you can have your garden really close to where those things are dropped off, it's really going to save your back from having to haul dirt and haul wood chips and things like that to and from the garden. The last thing you want to consider is the size of your garden. How big should you make your garden? You really don't need a huge garden to feed a small family. We have a family of 3. Our garden is a 20 by 30 rectangle, and it is plenty big enough to provide all the food that we need. But I cannot stress it enough. Start small. My husband and I made this mistake the first time we put a garden in. We put in a huge garden. We had big ideas and big aspirations, and it just became overwhelming and very stressful. So we downsized our garden, and it's the best decision we ever made. So my advice is start smaller than you think. You can always expand it later. So we've discussed what Back to Eden gardening is. We've gone over what you need to do to prepare your garden space. picking a spot with good drainage, full sun. You pick the appropriate size of garden. Now it's time to stake out your garden and accomplish the first step, and that is to lay down newspaper on top of the grass. So no tilling, no pulling up grass. All you're gonna do is take 3 to 4 sheets of newspaper, lay them down flat, and then put a little bit of soil on top to hold them in place. That is it. And what this is going to do is kill off the grass underneath, which will then return nutrients back into your soil. The newspaper composts down very quickly, so it will break down and turn into soil as well, and that will all provide extra nutrition into your soil. You can accommodate newspapers from family, friends, neighbors, ask them to hold back their old newspapers for you. You can also contact your local recycling station or your local newspaper to see if they have extra newspapers. Now that you have your newspapers down, it's time to move on to the next step, and that is your dirt. You want to find yourself some organic compost or composted manure, and you want to lay down 3 to 5 inches of this stuff right on top of the newspaper. This is the dirt. This is going to be the essence of your garden to help kickstart your Back2Eden garden so you can grow those big, beautiful vegetables. Again, I can't recommend it enough. Make sure that you're getting your dirt from a good source. Make sure it's organic and it's free of chemicals, pesticides, and fertilizers. We've laid down the newspaper, we've put down the soil. Now it's time for the last step, the covering, and this is the essence of Back2Eden gardening. Paul Gauchke recommends that you use wood chips because they break down very quickly and they also protect the soil very well and keep the soil loose and easy to work with. Now, where can you obtain wood chips? Well, there's a couple different places. The first thing I would do is call your local electric company. They use tree service companies all the time to help maintain their power lines, and usually this is a way that you can get them for free. You can also contact local tree service companies themselves. This is another way that you can get free wood chips, or they may charge you a small fee. The last place you can look for wood chips is a landscaping company, but make sure that you get wood chips that are chemical and dye-free. We want organic as possible, and those dyes and chemicals will not be good for your vegetables. Once you obtain the wood chips, now what you want to do is cover the soil with 2 to 4 inches of wood chips. And that is it. That is a Back2Eden garden. Very simple, very easy. Anybody can do it. Now, some things to keep in mind for maintaining your Back2Eden garden and using your Back2Eden garden. When you go to plant your vegetables, make sure that you pull the wood chips away and plant directly in the soil. If you plant your seeds in the wood chips, it will stunt the vegetables' growth. Now, from here on out, every fall you will want to add a new layer of wood chips to your garden because, like I said, these wood chips will break down, turn into soil, so it's kind of a perpetual cycle. So you need to make sure that you always add a new layer in the fall. Another thing you can do for my wood stove people, if you have a wood stove or know of someone that has a wood stove, collecting those ashes and spreading them on the garden during the winter months will add great mineral content to your soil in the future. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was encouraging. Be sure to head over to morningchores.com for more information on the subject of gardening, homesteading, DIY, and much, much more. I will also link the Back2Eden documentary in the description box below. It's a little cold out here, so I'm going to head inside and get a hot cup of tea and enjoy the rest of the day next to the wood stove. We'll see you next time.